Mr. James,
Here.
Ms. Loza,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Ms. Nichols Rhodes,
Here.
Mrs. Penta,
Here.
Mrs. Spinner,
Here.
Mr. Stams.
Here.
Thank you. We will now have the invocation by Spinner.
Thank you. Dear God, as we gather here today, we are ever thankful for the opportunity to serve our community. Let us act with character and conviction in the spirit of service. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We don't have any minutes to approve at this meeting. So at this point, we'll Ms. Calvacchio or Mrs. Capriel, reading of petitions, claims, and communications.
Yes, Mr. President. I have a notice to legislative authorities, objection to renewal of a liquor permit from the Department of Commerce, Division of Liquor Control, stating that all permits to sell alcoholic beverages in your political subdivision will expire on December 1, 2020. In order to maintain permit privileges, every permit holder must file a renewal application. I also have a letter from Mayor Walters dated September 25, 2020, requesting council approval of his appointments to the Public Art Board.
Okay. At this time, I will make a motion that we dissolve into Committee of the Whole, so we can discuss the mayor's appointment to the Art Board.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
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 Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this is exciting tonight because this is our first art board that'll be installed with 5 residents from the city, as well as there'll be a council appointee, 1 from planning, 1 from the Historic Design and Review Board. But I had the privilege of appointing 5 as the mayor's appointees. And just so you know, the way the rules read, there will be 2 of the members for 3-year terms initially, 3 members for 5-year terms initially. Thereafter, once the terms expire, they will all be 6-year terms. So with that in mind, I do have 5 people to present to City Council for your approval. And the criteria for these 5 members were 2 members that are working artists, 1 preferably in 2D, 1 in 3D art. And we do have that, so I will go and I will cover those 2 first. First is Arthur Croyle. I'm not sure if he is on the call. He lives on Oasis Road in Cuyahoga Falls. Just a long history in the art community. He's taught art, he's made art. So he would fill in perfect for the artist. And I'm looking to see.
He was the middle on the right, I think, was weird.
That's Toby's iPad, Mayor.
I'm sorry, there's a lot of faces up there. I see you now. Well, first of all, thank you for offering to serve on this very important board in its inception. And I know you'll be the advisory board for Planning Commission and really for the whole entire city. So thank you for that. Next is Tom Sullivan. I saw him, somehow the board moved. Now he's over on the right. Hello, Tom. Again, Tom his medium is 3D for the most part. Very talented artist, and a lot of you know him, so he's going to serve very well on the board as well. The next is, I see Rick Krotchka there. There was to be a person that's in the planning and the design and implementation, and that's Rick's forte as well. So he's going to serve in that capacity. Thank you very much for that, Rick. And then there's 2 other members from the community at large that are in the art community. So we have one that you know quite well, Molly Hartong, and she lives on Ravens Hollow. Does someone see her? I don't know if she is present on the call tonight. Most of you know Molly. And then also Danielle Dietrich is also going to serve in this first group. And I do not see her as well unless it's one of the phone calls. So those are my appointments to the initial art board for the mayor's appointments, and I think they'll do a phenomenal job. So I respectfully ask for your confirmation.
Thank you, Mayor. I would say that it's an excellent choice of people. And do we have any questions, or does anybody that's going to be appointed want to make any comments? Do we have any? Oh, Ms. Nichols Rose?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank you all for serving, and I know that I know most of you pretty well, and I'm just impressed always by all of the volunteer work and obvious commitment you have to the city, and we truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Gorbach?
Thanks, Mr. Brohart. I was fortunate enough to serve on the art committee a few meetings and was impressed with everybody in the room and the dedication, the high desire to bring art in many different forms to the community, as we heard as a council when the report was presented. And so very excited. I know Mr. Sullivan, I know Rick Krochka very well. Happy to see you guys on there, some veterans in the community. Not to imply that the other ones aren't veterans. I just don't have the privilege of knowing you as well. But I did hear you talk during the committee meetings that I was involved in and was very impressed. So I can't wait for this to get going and to see what wonderful things are going to be placed throughout the city of Cuyahoga Falls.
Thank you. Mr. Balthus?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo what Mary and Tim said. These are very important positions, and it's so great to have people in the community willing to step up to do this. I'm so excited about the public art that we're going to be bringing to the city and the plan. And I know there'll be a lot of decisions and guidance that'll need to be given. And I think this is a great group of people to provide that guidance. So thank you so much for your willingness to serve. And if I can ever help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick thing, echoing everything. Nice to see Mr. Krochka, Mr. Sullivan, and Mr. Croyle. And I'm sure that Mrs. Dietrich and Ms. Hartong are going to be great additions to everything. And I know putting those heads together are going to bring some great stuff. So I'm so happy to see you all. And congratulations on being appointed to this board. And we're looking for great stuff from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to make a comment? Hearing none, at this point, I'll take I'll make a motion that we reconvene to regular council.
Second.
All those in favor of reconvening to regular council, please signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, back in regular council session. And at this point, I will make a motion that we approve the mayor's appointments to the Public Art Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the mayor's appointments, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Thank you and congratulations to everyone. And once again, thank you again. This is a really excellent. I'm very excited about this board. All righty, we have no public hearings tonight, no special committee meetings, new ordinances and resolutions.
Righty, hold on here. Hang on. All righty. Temporary Resolution A61, presented by the administration. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates of taxation as certified by the Summit County Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies, certifying such authorization to the county fiscal officer, and declaring an emergency.
Finance and Appropriations, Mr. Gorbach.
Temporary Ordinance A62, presented by the administration upon recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Board. An ordinance authorizing the Parks and Recreation Board to enter into a contractor contracts without competitive bidding with J&J Amusements, Inc. for new pitching machines for Downview Sports Center and declaring an emergency.
Finance and Appropriations, Mr. Orbach.
Temporary ordinance A63, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into a contractor contracts without competitive bidding with Wickard Insurance Services, Inc. for the professional services necessary to manage the city's risk management and insurance program and for the purchase of public entity insurance coverages and declaring an emergency.
Finance and Appropriations, Mr. Orbach.
Temporary ordinance A64, presented by the administration. An ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Cuyahoga Falls codified ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Public Affairs, Mr. Balthus.
Temporary ordinance A65, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a license agreement with Front and Center LTD for the purpose of constructing and maintaining a deck on the rear of the Levinson Building, parcel number 02-13108, which is also partially located on City of Cuyahoga Falls parcel number 02-02861 and declaring an emergency.
Public Affairs, Mr. Balthus.
Temporary resolution A66, presented by the administration. A resolution expressing support for and urging passage of issue 36, the Cuyahoga Falls City School District levy at the general election to be held on November 3, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Public Affairs, Mr. Balthus.
Temporary resolution A67, presented by the administration. A resolution expressing support for and urging passage of issue 43, the Woodridge Local School District levy at the general election to be held on November 3, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Public Affairs, Mr. Balthus.
Temporary resolution A68, presented by the administration. A resolution expressing support for issue 45, an operating tax renewal levy for the benefit of the Cuyahoga Falls Library and declaring an emergency.
Public Affairs, Mr. Balthus.
Temporary resolution A69, presented by the administration. A resolution expressing support for and urging passage of issue 47, Akron Zoo tax levy at the general election to be held on November 3, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Public Affairs, Mr. Balthus.
Temporary ordinance A70, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contractor contracts with the Carvo Companies, Inc. without competitive bidding for emergency roadway repairs at 3345 State Road and declaring an emergency.
Public and Industrial Improvements, Ms. Nichols Rhodes.
Temporary ordinance A71, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contractor contracts without competitive bidding with Traffic Tech, Inc. to repair epoxy pavement markings at various locations in the city and declaring an emergency.
Public and Industrial Improvements, Ms. Nichols Rhodes. All right, thank you. We will now move on to reports of council standing committees. Planning and Zoning, Mr. James.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, the Planning and Zoning Committee is up to vote on temporary ordinance A48.
Temporary ordinance A48, presented by the administration upon recommendation by the Planning Commission. An ordinance authorizing and approving the conditional zoning certificate to construct and operate a Conrad's Blue Falls Car Wash facility on Portage Trail Extension, parcel 35-04006 in an MU4 suburban corridor district and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, the Planning and Zoning Committee is in favor of temporary ordinance A48, and I move for its adoption.
Mr. James, I have some correspondence, email correspondence that I need to read before a vote is taken.
That's fine.
Okay. The first email is dated September 23, 2020 from Jim and Julie Thomason. My husband and I own Falls Laser Wash on Portage Trail. The proposed Blue Falls Car Wash is just 0.4 miles from us and 0.3 miles from Quality Scrub. I spoke with the owners of Quality Scrub, and we are both very concerned about how another wash so close to us will impact our businesses. We are not big players with multiple locations. Our washes support our families and put food on our tables. We are actively involved in and support this community. My biggest fear when opening our wash just 1 year ago was this exact scenario, that a much larger non-local car wash would build on top of us and potentially put us out of business. If Blue Falls is approved, this scenario is absolutely possible. I urge you to consider the impact on your current residents and businesses as you vote on this proposed car wash next week. This project is in no way harmonious with the existing area, and it will absolutely be disturbing to the existing residents behind it. Additionally, it will make an already congested area much worse. I understand the desire for business and development in the community. However, I do not feel that another car wash, when we already have 6 with a couple mile radius, is the proper fit for this land. I appreciate your time and pray the right choice will be made. The next email was sent on Friday, September 25th from Chuck Brunn. While adding a third car wash within 1/2 mile radius of the current 2 car washes doesn't seem to make a lot of financial sense, I understand that an out-of-town investor that does not have a stake in the community can spend their money as they wish, as long as they receive approval from this council. However, I also understand that this is a conditional zoning certificate, which means certain conditions must be met. There is a large development directly behind this parcel, and I am curious as to how these concerns/conditions will be addressed. How will this proposed business fit the character of the existing area? Will property values decrease for the entire development due to having this proposed business literally in their backyards? How will heavy emissions from stopped and slow-moving vehicles impact the quality of life for the residents directly behind the proposed facility? How will this brightly lit proposed facility, paragraph parens, I have seen photos of a similar design in Strongsville, close parens, impact the quality of life for the residents directly behind the proposed facility? Car washes are noisy. How will the noise from this proposed business impact the quality of life for the residents directly behind the proposed facility? As a resident in this development, I have very serious concerns as to the wisdom of voting to approve this conditional zoning certificate. Why would the desire of an out-of-town developer override the very valid concerns of residents of the city? This is certainly not going to increase revenues or jobs for the city, as it will just spread the car wash revenue and jobs over 3 businesses instead of 2 within the 1/2 mile radius. The next email was received on September 25th from Elizabeth Sednorowski. I have been a resident of Cuyahoga Falls for over 50 years and have never written a letter to my council person until now, but I felt it was my civic duty to do so. My brother lives in the Cedar Hill development, and I recently found out through friends and family about plans for a proposed tunnel car wash near their neighborhood. Although I was surprised and somewhat shocked that the city and its leaders would even consider this as an option, I was more surprised that I heard about this through word of mouth instead of through any public news source. Is there really a need for another car wash? We know of 2 other car washes within close proximity to the proposed site. As residents, we're proud and happy about the development of Portage Crossing and what it has done for the state road corridor. We do not see how this car wash project can blend in with the aesthetics of the Portage Crossings development or the surrounding neighborhood. 2 years ago, we built an addition to our home, and we had to follow a number of codes for our construction to contribute to the overall quality of not only our home, but to that of the neighborhood as well. I do not see how the construction of a large tunnel car wash will contribute to the design and quality of the Portage Crossing development and to the Cedar Woods/Cedar Hill neighborhood. Our addition has added value and enjoyment to our home. If this car wash is built, How will enjoyment and value be added to the homes directly behind it? I appreciate all the careful thought, design planning, and the process that made Portage Crossing such a welcoming point into our city. I am not sure how this car wash size and design can or will contribute to the perception of that welcome. I do not see how this car wash will be able to lead to the expansion and design elements Portage Crossing has already established. I respectfully ask the City of Cuyahoga Falls council members vote no on this project. Thank you for your time and consideration. Next email is from Stephen Gellert. It was sent on Friday, September 25th to Cuyahoga Falls City Council. I am writing to you as a taxpayer, voter, and concerned citizen who is actively involved in issues impacting us at the national, state, and local level. I'm concerned about a local one in which the city is considering allowing another car wash to be built on Portage Trail Extension. Someone just recently invested in a new car wash just blocks down Portage Trail, and is quality scrub not located around the corner from this location? Aren't you concerned that this new investment will only lead to the demise of the other two? I have several concerns about this proposal. First, I frequently drive east on this road towards Portage Crossing and Market District and have supported this development as it has replaced the blighted State Road Shopping Center. Why would the city allow such a building as a lighted tunnel stick out and destroy the cohesiveness of this stretch of Portage Trail? Second, I have been greatly troubled by climate change and our national leaders' refusal to address it. So I am concerned about the emissions from idling vehicles directly behind that neighborhood. I care about the environment. Is the city not concerned about the health and welfare of nearby residents? Last, I expect the persons we elect to protect our rights as tax-paying citizens of the city in which we choose to live. I am respectfully asking you to do your job. The next letter was sent on September 25th from John Hurley. Dear council members, I am here to advocate for the peaceful enjoyment, safety, and prosperity related to my property as our general development code intends. The city's development code requires that certain businesses, such as a car wash, require a conditional use certificate for the mixed use zoning of the property at hand. The code clearly states that this business would require conditions to be met because of the threat to peaceful enjoyment, safety, and prosperity of adjacent properties. In this instance, the residential single-family dwellings along Cedar Woods Drive. We argued in vain to the Planning Commission that the proposed conditions will not adequately secure harmonious integration. I offer the following reflections on the proposed development impacting our neighborhood and larger community. After participating in the Planning Commission and City Council meetings, I have had time to appreciate the difficult place we have now arrived. I understand that the mixed-use zoning does specify that a car wash is within the list of potential applicants for this property. But this car wash is different. It is very large and capable of servicing more than 2,000 cars per day at its maximum capacity. Parens 160 vehicles /hour times 13 hours equals 2,080 vehicles a day, Monday through Saturday, and well over 1,500 on a pleasant sunny Sunday. End paren. These are daunting numbers even at 50% capacity. I've further given some thought about how we have arrived at this situation. I am not naive to know that cultivating business requires time. Mr. Turk admitted and Mr. Guerra added that they have been trying to make something work in Cuyahoga Falls for the past 2 to 3 years, with a couple other locations not being successful. Maybe there needs to be some type of pre-discussion with more people prior to moving along too aggressively for potentially controversial and harmful projects. It was interesting to listen to Mr. Guerra speak of mixed-use zoning during the 921 council meeting. He spoke of the intent of mixed-use zoning as inclusive of residential, commercial, and office space projects. I am pretty sure that a review of the video will attest to my recall. Envision an architecturally pleasing development of apartments with retail underneath and complementing office buildings and an eatery or two. I ask, how will this property achieve such use if this mega car wash is authorized? Certainly such pleasant development is achievable here. I think it is even foreseeable based upon the attractiveness of this land being so close to Portage Crossing, as well as being another positive addition to the exciting changes at the Front Street Mall. I think a yes vote on this car wash will, in the end, be a revenue loser for our city. Just over a week ago, I visited the Conrad Car Wash on Pearl Road in Strongsville. This car wash is huge, tall, 1.5 stories, and consists of a long lighted glass tunnel to blatantly display the operation of the cars getting cleaned. This setup is the most obvious violation of the conditional use code, which requires that the operations character is to be de-emphasized. How does this possibly get by the Planning Commission? This large operation does not belong at the proposed site. I beg the council members to take a visit to one of these car washes. The staff report and its related drawings do not do justice to the experience of seeing one of these up close. There is a reason Conrad's other car washes are not built in proximity to single dwelling homes, but rather on large commercial roadways like Lorraine Road and Pearl Road. The Pearl Road site is immediately adjacent to the Ohio Turnpike, and at the very least, I beg the council members to take a longer visit to the property along West Portage Trail Extension and or to visit our backyards to experience just how intimate this land is in relation to the homes along Cedar Woods Drive. Visiting a Conrad's Car Wash and the proposed site would no doubt change your perspective. I believe these requests are reasonable because if this project is voted to go forward, then the city will have to live with this supersized car wash for many decades and the squandered opportunity cost for this parcel. It is wishful thinking that this project will be sufficiently designed so as not to affect air quality. Please think of young children playing in their backyards, noise, and lighting disturbances, and in turn not diminish our property values and peaceful enjoyment. In other words, it is impossible that this project would fulfill the intent of the General Development Code. It's just too big. I repeat, the car wash is an architectural misfit for this plat of land that will emphasize its discordant appearance along this otherwise attractive corridor, yet another violation of the code's intent. This poorly conceived plan has unnecessarily created substantial ill will with the established families and residents of Cedar Woods Drive that will likely long be remembered, especially if passed. We all deserve good city governance that is supportive of our welfare and prosperity. I work in healthcare. Often procedural decisions require weighing the anticipated good versus harm, as it is succinctly summarized in the famous motto, do no harm. Is the city really sure this project will not cause harm to the residents' investments, air quality, the aesthetic environment, and the future development of this parcel? Has any actual objective evidence been forwarded to ensure the safety and disturbance issues have been sufficiently addressed for air and sound pollution and thus harmonious implementation? I see great risk and disproportionate harm voting affirmatively for this project. I respectfully request that you support the residents along Cedar Woods Drive and the growing number of residents, over 500, that signed a petition opposing this project. The council's final vote has likely been designed for just this reason, a check and balance conception to protect against a potential project aberration that has progressed too far. Please exercise your right to vote against the proposed car wash for the betterment of Cuyahoga Falls. I sincerely thank you in advance for your thoughtful consideration regarding this issue. The next letter is from Dave Graff, sent September 26th. Dear Frank Stams and City Council, we moved our family from Stowe to Cuyahoga Falls about 10 years ago, and we were drawn to this area because of its successful mix of development and rural areas. We thought the city had a huge upside and potential for positive growth. We enjoy the area around Portage Crossing as well as the Market District and the positive changes to Front Street. Up until now, we had not read or seen anything about this proposed car wash being considered behind Pitco in the Cedar Hill neighborhood. Please stop this car wash from being built. Please do not justify this type of business by saying that it is creating jobs or new tax revenue in Cuyahoga Falls, because one, there is only a finite number of car wash opportunities needed by the Cuyahoga Falls general public. Adding more car wash capacity does not generate incremental revenue, but simply dilutes the revenue to the existing car washes in the city. Two, these are not the types of jobs / wages that allow one to buy a home / contribute property taxes to the city. And three, due to the numerous other car washes in the immediate vicinity, it is highly probable that some will go out of business. Not only will this result in less jobs overall, but will probably lead to more vacant buildings that would be very difficult to be used for other reasons. Since we have been here, we have seen much of the green space which attracted us to Cuyahoga Falls disappear. Although we are not happy with that, at least it was for housing, but now it is for another car wash. Not only are we opposed to another car wash in this vicinity, we were made aware that this is one of the tunnel type car washes, which are quite loud and obnoxious. We are shocked the city would allow that type of structure to be built so close to a neighborhood. It would completely take away from that entire area and reduce property values. It does not fit, and it does not serve the type of growth that Cuyahoga Falls should seek to develop. The city should protect the thoughtful and varied businesses that they have worked so hard to attract on Portage Trail Extension and promote continued growth like Portage Crossing. There is nothing to be gained by allowing a duplicative business with minimum wage jobs. Frank, please vote no to this car wash and encourage your fellow council to do the same. And the last email received was from Daniel Ryman Snyder, sent on September 28th. Additional car wash on Portage Trail Extension. As a City of Cuyahoga Falls residents, 364 Hillbrook Drive, I ask City of Cuyahoga Falls City Council consider the long time and short time established car wash businesses that have already made and continue to make investments in property, employee taxes, and their community. An additional car wash being pushed through the Planning Commission reflects poorly on the Planning Commission and the city. 3 car washes within 2 blocks of each other is excessive and is not necessary or essential to the residents of the city, nor does the Planning Commission consider the quality of life of nearby residents. Sounds like poor planning. The city's zeal for bringing in this new business, although admirable, forsakes those longtime businesses' nearby residents. The market saturation will surely decrease the profitability of all. Then cuts need made, typically employees first, their payroll taxes, and their spendable cash and other retail establishments of Cuyahoga Falls. Please consider other opportunities for this property.
Thank you, Ms.
Wow.
Gabriela. I appreciate it. So again, the Planning and Zoning Committee is in favor of temporary ordinance A48, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
Are there any remarks?
Yeah, it's been a long and winding road. Obviously, there's been a lot of contention and a lot of controversy that leads up to tonight. But I will say that I'm proud of everybody, that everybody involved did their due diligence. They did their research. None of these decisions that we make tonight are going to be easy, yay or nay. But I appreciate everything that was done from the developer. They tried to do everything they could. As a matter of fact, they did a little bit more trying to appease the residents. I'm happy with how everybody on council and in the administration has really done their job, weighed the issues, and I'm sure whatever their decision is they're taking it from the heart, and they're just doing what they feel is the right thing to do.
Question.
Other remarks?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's Frank Stams. May I
Absolutely.
add my comments?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for this time, and that was awfully nice of you to say that, Mr. James. I know you speak you speak what is inside your heart, and I do appreciate that. Yeah, my words tonight are going to be towards you and the rest of council, and to make an appeal. I've been part of this process from the very beginning, going back to the first planning commission when the vote was taken and the adoption or the approval of the car wash was failed, or the approval was not met, 3-2 to 1. Ultimately, I think, as everyone knows, that the Planning Commission during the second meeting did approve it 6 to nothing. And I bring that up for a reason. Because I think the issue at hand tonight is really, not the law, because, or the code, because if it was that simple, a lot of things, it would be much more simpler if we could just read, what we're supposed to do. I think it's our interpretation of the law or the code. I mean, we see that at many levels of government. Certainly at the highest level, the U.S. Constitution, many different interpretations, and the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, and then even in looking at the Constitution, it hasn't been a perfect document. There's been amendments to the Constitution, so I see this tonight is being that body that takes a good hard look at, how do we want to interpret this? We've certainly heard, arguments for, and even, I mentioned the Planning Commission the first time, they had their doubts at 3-2 and 1. So I think, I certainly do not support, I think all of you know that I do not support this ordinance and the development of the car wash. And that's based on my interpretation of the application, specifically the review criteria under section, I think it's 1113 of the application under section D in bullet points 2 and 3. It's, under bullet point 2, it says the use shall be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate with the existing or planned character of the general vicinity and will not change the essential character of the area. I think we've heard just in the letters that Dana had read, and I guess testimony from the neighborhood, and I think they would know firsthand best what would be harmonious and appropriate for the neighborhood, that it doesn't fit for them. And then, not just, harmonious with the neighborhood, both, I would say environmentally but economically. You're hearing from business leaders in the neighborhood as well that it doesn't benefit them, or in large part Cuyahoga Falls. I certainly don't speak strictly from a Ward 8 perspective, but that is, the bulk of my words tonight. But an overall view of what we want to do in Cuyahoga Falls. What would prevent another car wash opening up in the area? I hear the argument that car wash opened up not too long ago, and that was approved, and this one should be approved too. But I understand that, but unfortunately, life isn't fair, and I think an abundance of car washes, as we've talked about, 6 or 7 within a couple of miles, I think that fulfills the need for car washes in the area. So I get to the second point, or the other bullet point 3 under the review criteria, and I respectfully disagree with the Planning Commission. I don't believe that these two items have been satisfied for the passage of this ordinance. The third bullet point 3 is the use is not hazardous or disturbing to existing or planned future neighboring uses and is not detrimental to the community as a whole. You know, we've heard argument that's pertaining to the code, but I don't read it like that. I read it as just as it says. The use is not hazardous or disturbing to the existing or planned future neighboring uses. Whether it's hazardous or not, you know, I don't know. I think it's certainly disturbing. The hours of operation are 7 a.m. to, I believe it was 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. On Sunday. And I'm not sure about the closing, but you know, certainly that would be a concern. But more importantly, the opening of the business at 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. I just think that's going to be disturbing. And regarding as far as the noise ordinance, the only really evidence, well, I haven't seen any evidence as far as whether or not it meets or it's going to not be disturbing as far as the noise, other than the testimony from the applicant. There is no study. I certainly don't have a study of the noise ordinance, and we only have the word of the applicant. And I certainly, you know, believe in, you know, they you know, are upstanding people, but you know, nobody, I think all of us, some of us that are in business and our own government, certainly would like to see studies or things more concrete than just testimony or their word. These things concern me, and I don't want to get long-winded, but I see our job is more than just, well, and I've heard some sayings, well, if the Planning Commission approved it, then I have no other choice but to approve it as well. And that's where I really have an issue. You know, I certainly respect the Planning Commission and their integrity, but you know, I hope they respect my difference of opinion. And as you consider your vote, please consider us as you know, an independent body that thinks of what's best for the community. And if we're going to err, I would like to see us err on the side of the citizens. So thank you for allowing me to speak. And I just wanted to make sure that, and I think everyone knows that, you know, I do not support the approval of this ordinance. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would be remiss if I wasn't to mention the residents also. They are obviously going to be impacted, whatever the decision is. And believe me, everybody saw the emails, listened to all the concerns, and really respect what you have said and told us. I can think of the Hurleys, Ms. Klossman and Mr. Sigford. These are just names off the top of my head, but I just wanted to let them know also, and everybody that spoke and sent us emails, that everything was analyzed and everything was studied and all the due diligence was done. And we all really appreciate the residents' voices in this also.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a comment, I'll be short-winded and simple. I look at it this way. I work for the residents, and the residents don't want this. It's been unanimous, anybody that I've talked to, so I strongly am going to vote no.
Okay, thank you. I believe question has been called.
Was there a second?
Yeah, I
Yes.
seconded.
Ms. Nichols Rhodes, second.
Okay. The question has been called. Ms. Capriola, I'd like to do a roll call vote.
Sure. All right. Mr. Balthus,
Yes.
Mr. Brillhart,
No.
Mr. Gorbach,
Yes.
Mr. Ayula,
No.
Ms. Loza,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
No.
Ms. Nichols Rhodes,
Yes.
Mrs. Penta,
Yes.
Mrs. Spinner,
Yes.
Mr. Stams.
No.
And I vote yes.
Oh, Mr. James, I left you. Okay, Mr. James, yes. My apologies.
All right. The tally, Ms. Capriola?
Hang on a minute. I believe it's 7-4.
Yes, motion passes 7-4.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. James. Finance and Appropriations, Mr. Gorbach.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We have 5 items to vote on this evening, beginning with temporary ordinance A53.
Temporary ordinance A53, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contracts with Adelman's Truck Parts for the sale of a 2015 Western Star 4700 SB truck and declaring an emergency.
The Finance Committee is in favor of temporary ordinance A53, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any remarks?
I have none.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of temporary ordinance A53, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously.
Temporary ordinance A54, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the village of Boston Heights for the acquisition, installation, and operation of a consolidated computer-aided dispatch system to the village of Boston Heights and declaring an emergency.
Finance Committee voted in favor of temporary ordinance A54, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
Any remarks?
I have none.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of temporary ordinance A54, please signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously.
Temporary ordinance A55, presented by the administration. An ordinance amending 8-2020 to authorize the Director of Law to execute a modification of contract with Drexel and Andrus LPA for legal services related to Johnson Controls Inc. and declaring an emergency.
Finance Committee is in favor of temporary ordinance A55, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
Any remarks?
No remarks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of temporary ordinance A55, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no.
Yes.
Was that a no vote?
That was a yes
Oh, yes. Okay, so it's
from
passes.
Mr. Miller.
Okay, so it passes 11-0.
Temporary ordinance A56, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the mayor as Director of Public Safety to enter into a contractor contracts according to law for the purchase of a station alerting system for use by the fire department and declaring an emergency.
Finance Committee is in favor of temporary ordinance A56, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any remarks?
No remarks.
Question?
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of temporary ordinance A56, please signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously, 11-0.
All right, temporary ordinance A57, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contractor contracts without competitive bidding with Jones and Associates Excavating for repair of various culverts on city property and declaring an emergency.
Finance Committee is in favor of temporary ordinance A57, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any remarks?
I have no remarks.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of temporary ordinance A57, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously, 11-0.
That concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Gorbach. Public and Industrial Improvements, Ms. Nichols-Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, the Public and Industrial Improvements Committee we have one ordinance to consider. It's temporary ordinance A58.
Temporary ordinance A58, presented by the administration, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contractor contracts according to law for the West Bath Road drainage improvements and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, the Public and Industrial Improvements Committee voted in favor of temporary ordinance A58 to come out for a vote this evening, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any remarks?
No
Question.
remarks. I'm sorry.
Question has been called. All those in favor of temporary ordinance A58, please signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Passes unanimously, 11-0.
Excuse me, who second? Was that you, Mr. Gorbach, that second? That,
I did not second.
no, who, I just seen a phone number. I don't know who that was.
I
Who
believe,
seconded?
is this this is Frank Stams. Is this ordinance A58?
Right.
I seconded.
Okay, I didn't see you light up there. Okay, thank you.
That concludes the Public and Industrial Improvements report tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols-Rhodes. Public Affairs, Mr. Balthus.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Community Development, Mrs. Penta.
Yes, Mr. President. Tonight we have two items to consider. It's temporary ordinance A59 and A60.
Temporary ordinance A59, presented by the administration. An ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a community development block grant economic development agreement with Kyocera SGS Precision Tools, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $100,000 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, the Community Development Committee is in favor of A59, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any remarks?
No remarks.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of temporary ordinance A59, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously, 11-0.
Temporary ordinance A60, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an amended economic development and lease agreement with Summit County Developmental Disabilities Board, Summit DD, authorizing the mayor to transfer real property located at 2361 Second Street to Summit DD, and authorizing the mayor to enter into a real property purchase agreement with Anthony E. Mandato and granting a future access easement to Summit DD and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, the Community Development Committee is in favor of A60, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any remarks?
No remarks, Mr. President.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of temporary ordinance A60, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously, 11-0.
And Mr. President, that concludes the Community Development Committee report.
Thank you, Mrs. Penta. Okay, now we have the announcement, future council meetings. Planning and zoning, Mr. James.
Subject to call, Mr. President.
Finance and appropriations, Mr. Gorbach.
October 5th at 6:30 PM.
Public and industrial improvements, Ms. Nichols Rhodes.
Monday, October 5th at 6:35 PM.
Public affairs, Mr. Balfus.
Monday, October 5th at 6:45 PM.
And community development, Mrs. Penta.
Subject to call, Mr. President.
Thank you. Do we have any miscellaneous business to come before council? Mayor, I think you have someone that you'd like to introduce.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity. Tonight, we do have, everyone knew downtown Abby. We now have downtown Kaylee. She's on the call tonight. She's going to do a phenomenal job. And as you know, with all that's going on in 2020, it's been kind of a difficult year. But if you've driven through Front Street, which probably most of you do, I know I do, it's been crowded. And I know the weather's been pretty nice. The patios are very inviting. However, she's got a whole lot of momentum already on day one. So I met with Kaylee for quite a bit. She's been in Cuyahoga Falls most of her life. Very excited to see what's going on down there. And she's just going to take that to the next level. And as we know, there's other downtowns that are either developed or being developed, and we want to stand out from all the rest. So a lot of that is marketing, drawing people to our downtown that maybe have not seen it yet through different events, fundraising efforts and things. And then also staying in touch with the merchants. And I know she's already started to do that. She's going to be wonderful downtown and really promote the city. So I think she's muted. I don't know who can unmute her. Can you unmute yourself? Great. So Kaylee, would you like to say a few words to council and the world?
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I, just like the mayor had said, I'm so excited to keep the momentum going. I lived in Cuyahoga Falls all but 4 years of my life. So I've ridden my bike when I was a child down pretty much every street, and I now reside and raise my family here. So to be able to impact the community that I raise my family in is very exciting. And I'm just very excited to work with you and to keep it going. So thank you.
Welcome aboard, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I just would like to make a comment. Mayor, I spend a lot of time downtown and, obviously welcome Kaylee. And I would say there might be a lot of downtowns in this country that are under development and whatnot. But I would say Cuyahoga Falls is second to none. We have momentum going down there. It is absolutely fabulous. I spend sometimes every weekend day down there at some point, and it is absolutely fabulous. The excitement and what you have done and what Mr. Calvecchio has done is just really outstanding. And so Kaylee, welcome aboard. And we are really excited.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments or any other business to come before council?
Move to adjourn.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
You're a good one, everybody.
Bye.